Right. Tell me about your journey and how you
All
became
right.
so exceptionally well as a leader in today's era. तो आपका ये जो पूरा जर्नी था वो कैसा रहा? आपने डेफिनेटली कुछ दिक्कतों का सामना किया होगा, फेलियर का सामना किया होगा, और आपने एकदम बैंग ऑन उससे निकल के आए and you have exceptionally doing pretty well. So how was your journey? Everybody wants to know your journey. Over to you, love.
Uh, yes, it's been quite a journey, but not quite as dramatic. Haven't had
Okay.
very many setbacks, thankfully. So it's been a wonderful ride, really. When I look back, I'm filled with sense of satisfaction, content, and deep relief.
Mm-hmm.
17 years, that is a lot of time. Details of which are going to come out in my untitled book that I'm working on. I began as a customer services professional. Over
Yeah.
the years, got the good opportunity to contribute, deliver, and learn from every facet of the services industry, from frontline delivery to back end working to strategic build, all of it. Working alongside some of the finest minds in the industry has been very satisfying, very, very rewarding. It's been like formal education, if you will, equivalent to masters in customer service. If you look at the system, 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2, matriculation, intermediate, graduation, and then masters. So it's been that. I entered into corporate workforce after having dribbled briefly elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm academically trained in psychology, history, philosophy, economics, policy making, etc. And therefore, it is not an exact fit, or at least it wasn't back then. I had two options in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
One was to continue with the academic, and the other one was to join the economic engine. I elected the later. A friend of mine reached out to me and said that Reliance Telecom Limited was hiring for customer service professionals. Completely unaware of what these events are like, I presented myself dressed neatly like a bureaucrat with a folder containing prizes from my academic years. What I did not, however, have was a resume. So my turn came, and I sat across the table to this wonderful gentleman called Manish Ranjan. He heard me out and wrote my resume with his hand, his pen on a white sheet of paper as I was telling him about myself, and he offered me the job. To this day, he's someone I really, really look up to. If it wasn't for his kindness, this 5 feet 6 inches ordinary looking guy wouldn't have secured that position. And from there, one thing leads to another. 17 years later,
Mm-hmm.
here I am with you. I am Vice President Transformation at 1.1, which is India's most formidable and only listed contact center BPM organization, working to shape and reshape our present as a company and also the future of our company as a brand.
Wonderful, wonderful. That means that everything is connected, and you always look up to opportunities. एकदम से भी चीजें आ जाती है, पर आपको अपना दिमाग और अपना अस्तित्व उसके लिए ओपन हैंडेडली खुला रखना है, so that you can grab it. So
You put it beautifully, Diksha. See, there's an old cliche
जी
that whilst one is busy planning, what happens is called life, right?
जी
So in that manner, customer experience chose me more than I selected it.
okay.
If I were to say. Uh, so I'm a research oriented professional. I've always been one.
Mhm.
Doing something is never enough for me unless I have modeled at least, 2, 3 alternatives, tried to roll them out, figure out what works, what doesn't. More than the results, understanding why things happen the way they do excites me really, really, much well. So, so then I progressed in my career, which started with Reliance Telecom Limited and went on to the Tatas and Wipro Technologies, two companies of Aditya Birla Group, Concentrix, Carvey, and others.
Mhm.
I found that I was able to apply the principles of behavioral economics, human behavior, sociology, things that I knew a thing or two about was possible in the services sector.
Mhm.
So though it happened purely by accident, it did give me an opportunity to play freely with an open mind. So I'm very, very thankful to eternity and to God for that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I also learned one thing, that be very thankful that what you have, and have a gratitude towards जो आपके पास है उसके लिए आप grateful रहिए. So that's lovely love that you spoke about. And one more thing I would like to understand from you, like you talk about, uh, जैसे जब आप सबसे पहले अपने इंटरव्यू के लिए गए थे, you don't have that resume in your hand, and so what is that जो एक मन में, हाँ जी, हाँ जी, you were saying something. अच्छा, let me finish the question. So मन में एक बड़ा एक butterflies होता है stomach में, मन में बड़ा एक अलग सा युद्ध होता रहता है कि क्या होगा, क्या नहीं होगा, क्या मैं कर पाऊंगा, ये सारे questions होते हैं. तो over to you, love. Like what you think anybody who are possibly an interviewer or interviewee and a candidate and aspiring leaders, they also have fear inside doing whatever challenge. आप इंटरव्यू दो, वो एक रिस्क है, वो एक फियर है, आप कुछ नया करो, वो फियर है. तो उस फियर से हम लोग कैसे हैंडल करें उस फियर को, और उससे कैसे आगे हम लोग बढ़े, उस लेवल से कैसे आगे बढ़े. ओवर टू यू, लव.
If I can quote
जी,
Bhai Binu Hoye Na Preet
जी,
from Ramcharitmanas,
जी, बिल्कुल.
right? Uh, Fear is a good thing. It's not a negative emotion, unless you let fear take over you.
हम्म,
Uh, as long as fear is a companion to your aspiration, it works. It works wonders.
हम्म,
Uh, keeps you in check. It makes you prepare. It makes you work hard. Gives you the reason to not take things for granted, and that means quite a bit in a world where instant gratification, speed is something that we're speaking about. We get opportunities fast, therefore there's a probability of failing fast too. But what is it that is going to prevent us from failing? If we were to objectively try and analyze that, then we'll see that it is preparation, understanding what is expected out of us in a certain circumstance. If we are aware, if we have any previous exposure or experience to that kind of a setting, then it's an advantage, really, that you know what to expect and there's very little surprise. But then if you're getting into a setting which is absolutely unknown to you, you are stranger to that setup, then what you can do is try and figure out what could it possibly be. So you can consult with people who you think might know, or you can imagine, you can reach about them, research, etc., and then start preparing for it. Imagine a scenario if you did not have the fear, then my sense is that preparations also would not happen. And lucky are those who are well prepared. I've seen it in my entire life. Uh, Back when we were studying to now when we are trying to work, nobody ever gets success, even close to getting successful, without having prepared for it. So if you ask me, uh, I would like to be a little afraid. It is okay, it helps me do better.
wonderful, wonderful. So that means preparation is important and nothing go hand in hand. You have to prepare exactly what you're looking for. And fear hona, thoda thoda fear hona acha hai. So that's what you said.
बहुत अच्छा है. भय भय बहुत आवश्यक है.
जी.
भय के बिना एकाग्रता आनी असंभव सी है. It's
Wow.
nearly impossible to concentrate without really doing something, without being afraid of failing. That's a big force.
वंडरफुल. जहाँ पे हमें अफ्रेड है कि हम फेल हो जाएंगे, वहीं हम जी जान से उतनी ही मेहनत करेंगे ताकि हम फेल ना हो. वंडरफुल, वंडरफुल, ब्यूटीफुली.
I must mention here though, Diksha, that
अच्छा,
हम अगर प्रिपेयर करेंगे भी तो कई बार हो सकता है कि शायद हम फेल हो जाए, है
बिल्कुल.
ना? It's still possible that we might just fail at doing something, but then we would not have the regret that I did not try. It's just that the requirements were they well exceeded what I could have prepared for, or I did prepare for. Therefore, you have something else also to attribute that failure to, and not entirely on the lack of of preparation. You should not fail for the lack of trying, right? And you shouldn't try without preparing well. So that is really the mantra, if you will.
Wonderful, wonderful. Never ever give up. That's something that I love from you. Like, your success mantra. I think never ever give up. Keep on trying. You do fail, but never ever give up on failures and probably even trying. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Moving to the next set of question, love, that I want to ask you. Just say you are into customer experience and you said that you don't know, like, aapko nahi pata tha how you went into this field. But then how this
Absolutely.
yeah. So how this customer experience thing happened to you? That is point number one. Point number two, I want to understand what is customer experience. Say, for example, you have a customer X, right? And then that person is not happy with the services or whatever, like innovation, something. Like, how important is customer experience and how important we need to keep on transforming to next level always. So over to you, love.
That's a good question, Diksha, a very fundamental one. Uh, I like to approach it slightly differently. Let us understand who a customer is, right? In the pure business sense, a customer is somebody who's willing to pay for your product or services, right? A customer is the person, the entity that keeps you in business, right? Unless you happen to be a charitable organization, unless you're doing something without any financial outcome in mind, then that's a different thing. But if you are in trade, if you are in business, if you are in commerce, and if you really, at the end of a transaction, you're willing to create some value in terms of money or wealth, then the importance of customer cannot be understated or overstated. Just impossible to imagine business without a customer. It's like having a show without audience. That's not a show really. Yeah, it could be a preparation.
Yes.
So that is very, very important. But then what customer service is, that in itself has really, really changed in last 17, 18 years that I've been around. When I started off, customer service used to be a little department in size, perhaps the smallest. And they used to primarily face with the customer in person, right? There's a store where you go and you ask for things, etc. But the sense of customer service, it goes long, absolutely goes long back. And if I were to tell you that the way we experience any product, any services now versus the way we used to do it a decade or two earlier, or when we were growing up, is extremely different. Very, very transformed in the sense that um, how do we educate ourselves today? It is based on the internet plays a huge role. India happens to be a country with close to about 700 million smartphones, beaming every minute, every moment of the day. So we learn about product and services on the internet. We read reviews about customer experiences, others who must have looked at this. Even the mere act of buying something now always happens after some bit of research has really happened, right? You go, you check the prices, you check the features, you check what people who've actually paid for, how much, what has been their journey, etc. I, on my website, which is lavkush.co.in, if I may plug that in, right? I lovekush.co.in. I write in detail. I have a whole segment about customer experience in which I regularly write long form articles, which address not just what, but also why and how of the customer services vertical or horizontal, if I may, from strategy to operational details, all of it. But let me just mention three things here
Sure.
that the way the things have changed. First is, it is extremely important, uh, inevitable to be brilliant at basics. What are basics really? Basics is understanding what is it that the customer really wants, right? A new metric that is gaining a lot of steam in the modern world is customer effort. How much of an effort did the customer have to make to avail your product or services? Now, availing here could be consuming the product directly or also learning about you, right? So How well spread are you? Are you present where the customer is? Or are you so channel specific that the customer is having to walk to you, right? So we live in a multimodal, multi-channel, omni-channel environment. So whether you are on social media or you are on YouTube or you are on a web platform, you're in a retail store, you're walking, you see advertisements everywhere, right? Brands are trying to communicate with you. Our physical lives and our digital lives is littered with all kinds of messaging and education that goes around, right? So from there, we need to be able to very clearly understand what is our service philosophy. How is it that we would like to treat our customers? How well do we understand what they really want? And we have to be brilliant at basics, which is understanding it and delivering it right then and there. If there's a way for us to figure out, preempt what a customer might need in a certain moment in the customer journey, and if you can make that happen even before the customer wanting it, it'll become an instant hit, right? The second thing that I'd like to mention is what I experience happening these days is, and we seem to be missing the woods for the trees in our tech exuberance. Technology is a tool. We got to understand that. Like any other, uh, guarantee of outcome still lies in the thought behind the commissioning. So the thought is known by many names: intellect, process, strategy, design, discipline, pursue. Remember, not everyone who owns a scalpel is a surgeon, right? Be wise in electing a solution. Do not get swayed by the next cool thing on the horizon. Most of it is fog, and it is going to dissipate with change of weather. Yeah. Third thing, if I may add, if I may, prognosticate, 60% of customer services industry is going to perish in less than 3 years. That's a negative, sort of thought, and a scary one. It can throw a lot of people off their feet, but that's a reality. Transformation in the field of customer service delivery and customer engagement is happening at a maniacal rate. The rules of engagements are being rewritten as more and more businesses are going virtual to reap the benefits of scale, scope, spread. Since the beginning of time, in the context of industrialized service delivery, empathy has remained inseparable from the person delivering it. The entire care industry has been heavily dependent on humans. That is changing in our current times, and changing forever, and perhaps for the better. So, what does that really mean? If you ask me, personalization is now a product of data science and no longer gut feeling of those who make decisions, right?
Absolutely.
Process re-engineering, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. I'm saying yes. Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah. Process re-engineering, the second item, is shaping the contours of customer experience, entire length and breadth of customer journey. And delight, if I may say so, is no longer a goodwill gesture. It has to be a feature, usefulness, price. The vehicle of delivery through which you reach your customer, the bulk of the traffic is now on speech tech, conversational AI, speech to text to speech, bot, machine learning, you name it. So the future of customer service industry, if you ask me, rests on three pillars. One is human behavior mastery. How well do you understand psychology?
Yeah.
Second is data science. How aptly you recognize patterns, and if you're able to predict based on those patterns. And delivery. And when I say delivery, I would again say cognitive tech, speech around speech. That's how the customer service industry I see shaping in the days to come.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, with this, like you talk about technology reshaping customer solutions and experience altogether, right? So, I have one simple basic question which a lot of people ask when we talk about technology. There are again two basic fundamental questions. One, we might talk about creating a bot. Say for example, Diksha ने ये bot बना दिया, right? अब मैंने customer को reception पे यहाँ पे bot रख दिया. And then what do you think that bot, like you talk about, there is always an empathy. Can we achieve this empathy in the bots, in technology ever, when we talk about customer experience? That's the first question. Second question, when I talk about customer experiences, क्या हम उन bots के जरिए कभी ये चीज करवा पाएंगे, because machines are absolutely different. We write machine 01 and we code them, but can they also incorporate feelings and empathy and this? If yes, when? And if yes, we can do that, will you think that this is going to change the complete customer experience horizon for people who enter the first time in your building, or probably anywhere in the facility or the infrastructure? Over to you, Love.
All right, let's go in that order. So you asked first question, and you said that if I place a bot, can I expect the bot to do as good a job as a human would in a retail setting or a reception setting?
Yeah, retail, fine. That.
Answer: retail or reception setting,
Right.
where the customer would expect to meet somebody personally. Uh, as of today, the answer is a clear no. That is not what is possible today. The second part of your question was, is it ever going to be possible? I am inclined to think yes, it is. It may be possible. It may happen a lot quicker than we would imagine or acknowledge. Now, why do I say that? If you understand and research and read about the way technologies are happening, there's something very popular has come, which is uh, AI factory, right? A lot of our lives are already being governed by AI to a large extent. But because all of this technology is happening in the background, we don't always acknowledge it as objectively or as prominently as we would if, let's say, if all of that was happening in front of our eyes. Let me give you a few examples. The way we use our phones today, our phone has a lot of data on us, at what time we do what. So either you are an Android user or an iOS user, the Google Assistant or the Siri vocal assistant that are there on the phone are able to preempt a lot of activities that you do. They're able to give you a lot of information that you would otherwise have to labor to find. Now, what is a significant change that is happening today? AI and technology, machine learning, big data, advanced analytics, all of that is being put very successfully on structured data, right? Which can be broken down into binaries, right? Easily, machines are able to do a great job. But skills where imagination is required, drawing, writing, creative talking, doing anything to do with art, philosophy, those are things where the technology is not as smart as it is on structured data processing, which is where you see a lot of investment is being made by giants like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, on recognizing pictures. So, for example, your Google Photos recognizes you type cake, and from your album, it will pick up all the cake pictures in front of you, right? You can tag a name. The moment you tag somebody in your gallery, and if there's a new picture that comes, the AI already understands that whose picture that is, right? So facial recognition, speech recognition are technologies that are being worked on very seriously at the moment, and the future where a bot will be as good as a human is not too distant from where I see it.
Perfect, perfect. So it's going to happen would be upper, but then machines are, not replace, can never replace human at so far like we see, right? Because anyway, if a bot gonna fail, we have to put them battery and put them, a lot of fuel in terms of electrons. So we have to do the job.
No, we don't have we don't have to be afraid of
Sure.
those kind of things. Apocalyptic things are going to keep happening in Hollywood movies, and perhaps someday in Bollywood movies too, but not in real life.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example from an economics text which I studied when I was in school, in my uni days actually. Imagine society and an economy as a setup where you have a ground and you have a ladder which connects the ground to the terrace. Now, people who are on the lower pedestal of the ladder collect a lot of dirt. There's a lot of mud. There's a lot of worms there. As you climb up, you get a better view of your surrounding. The air becomes better. You are elevated at a certain stage. Technology, society is similar, right? So you will never see a world where humans will not do anything. It just is the kind of things that they will do will change as we move forward. And people who will do things which require lesser cognitive capital is going to be valued less. Therefore, there's going to be lesser margin, lesser money to be made out of that. But that future will never come where humans will be dictated by a computer. That's not going to happen.
Please elaborate on, like, say for example, there is a customer experience objective that we are going forward, and in a room of around 20 people, we're thinking of, we are talking about क्या करना चाहिए, क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. तो कभी कई दफा आपके साथ भी ऐसा होता होगा, या कस्टमर एक्सपीरियंस प्रोफेशनल्स के साथ ऐसा होता होगा कि कोई आइडिया नहीं चला, या मे बी हमने ऑब्जेक्टिव लिया काश ये चलेगा, या हमने पूरा एल्गोरिथम लगाया कि इट शुड वर्क, बट एंड ऑफ द डे जब हमने उसे ग्राउंड पे टेस्ट किया, सो माइट नॉट, इट नॉट got very well with the real people who are actually using it, जिनके लिए हमने किया. तो उस दौरान आप उसे कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करोगे, what worked and what not worked, and how you actually retransform the journey to make it functional pretty well. Over to you, Love.
Sure. See, it happens too often. Too often.
Okay.
Let me give you a ratio.
Okay, sure.
If we try 10 things,
Gee.
only 3 things work.
Okay.
Right? 7 things just don't work, or don't work as well. So first of all, we got to accept that. Second is, before you starting any activity, it is important to clearly define what is your measure of success. Who are you doing it for? What is it that you intend to gain from this activity, right? And then you put out what will you call a low success, a moderate success, and a blockbuster success. So let me give you an example. Let's say if I was if I was a mobile manufacturer, and I was and my goal was customer satisfaction.
Sure.
Let's say my customer satisfaction score was at 70, and I wanted to go to 90, right? And to improve customer experience, I have 5 projects, right? When I do my activities, I will have to keep in my mind very simply an investigative objective to figure out what is it that is coming in the way of me getting the result that I want and the result that I actually have. So if customer is rating my experience not as satisfactory as they would have liked, I need to understand, probe, ask why. What was not right? Resolution was not right. Wait time is an issue. Is the customer having to ask too many questions too often? Is the process in itself a punishment? What is wrong? We need to figure that out.
True.
And once we know what is not working, we should be able to devise an antidote for that, and then test it on a smaller segment. And once you get a result, then try and see your pre and post, how good or bad your plan is. And if it seems working, then increase the spread or increase the application of your new idea. As your scores improve of the measure of success of the KPI which you've considered measure of success, you will know it is working. Second item important is always keep listening to the customer. Your customer knows everything that is there to know about your product and your services. Never get misled into believing that because you are creator of the product, you know it all. Actually, you do not. The best person to tell you if your product is working or not is your customer. So have your ear on the ground and keep listening to your customer intently and willingly. From there, from customer's voice, all your answers will really come. You have to be humble to say that, I do not know. I have to learn from the customer and keep trying till you meet your measure of success.
Wonderful. Let's move
those are the ways. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. These ways are noted, and I'm sure मुझे तो help है, but I'm sure जो लोग customer success story बनाना चाहते हैं, they really want to achieve as a customer experience professionals, they will love these points, and they'll inculcate, like, the best person is customer himself or herself. Listen to them, be very humble, sit down and jot out the points, and then fix it up. Not every solution will be kick-ass, but then you bring more solutions, and some work, some doesn't work, but don't feel bad about it. Just listen to the customer to get the right things working for you. Amazing.